Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? We're going to get right into it tonight. You can see that we're like right at 8 o'clock, and I decided that we're going to start playing these intro videos at the beginning, about 2 minutes, 3 minutes before the show starts. That way, we got more time for our guests and more time for you to ask questions. So you can join us in the chat room just as I start things right now. We got a whole lot of great music coming out this month from Indie Tunes Records. So stay tuned. You'll see all those announcements coming out. A whole bunch of music dropping on Friday. We've had some great singles drop this past week, and there's a whole bunch more that's going to come out this Friday, the 25th. There's a whole bunch of stuff scheduled to come out. So we got Crime Pays coming out from Michelle Ryder. We've got Madness from Green Ink. All around, there's more. River comes out this week from Brother Leeds, and Stand Up was released earlier, and that is by Helix. That is their first single in many years. Extremely well done, and it's getting a lot of play, and we're really happy about that. All right, well, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Michael Brandvold. Michael is from Petaluma, California. He is a digital marketing, what I call a digital marketing specialist or expert, because he's been in this game for a long time. Way back when the internet was just a baby, he wrote one of the first internet websites for KISS, and then it grew into a whole bunch of other things, and we'll talk about that. I'm sure there'll be an interweaving as we go on in the show tonight. Anyway, Michael, here he is. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, man?
It's
good to be back.
It is great to have you here. I mean, I love having you on the show. I'm going to try and get rid of this because it's messing.
It's like my home away from home here.
Yeah, it's great having you here. I mean, and you're down in California. How's the weather there today?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Probably high 60s.
Nice. We got up into the 60s today, which was unusual because it's been so cold here this spring. Probably one of our coldest winters on record up here.
Wow.
It was nasty cold. We had probably a good 6 weeks of weather in the minus 20s and 30s. So
okay.
Yeah, not too much fun. Frostbite weather.
Yeah.
Hey, you ever heard that term, freezing the balls off a brass monkey?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know where that comes from?
No idea.
So here it is. Way back in the day, I saw this the other night. So back in the day, you had, these ships going out to sea, and they had these big cannons on them, right? And the cannonballs were made out of brass, or were made out of steel, and they set in on a stand that was made of brass. Well, when it would get cold, the brass would shrink and the balls would fall. And apparently that is where the saying, freezing balls off a brass monkey.
Okay.
So there you go. And I think that was the reference point. So kind of interesting stuff. We're going to talk about Spotify tonight. We're going to talk, oh my, look at that. My camera just went for a shit. There we go. Nope. I'm green. I'm blue. I'm checkered. I'm like Max Headroom.
It looks like one of those cheap filters you get in your video apps. Make your clean video look like it's being broadcast on TV.
That's right. Now I'm getting the roll. I had to correct the horizontal and the vertical roll on that. It's still doing it. I don't know what it is. I think this camera is going. I think it's time to replace it. If that gets bugging you, I'm just going to put you on the screen right now, and we'll talk to you, and I'll unplug my camera. So I'm going to have you just talk a little bit about, you made a reel today for your show, your upcoming show.
Yeah, for the latest episode of the Music Biz Weekly podcast.
Yeah, so share with people a little tidbit of that, because I think they should watch your whole podcast, because I think you've got some great things to say there.
Yeah, we basically just came right out and said, I think something that a lot of people who work in the industry know about, say under their breath, nobody wants to just come right out and say it, but myself and Jay Gilbert, my podcast partner, just came right out and we said, this is going to be a slap in the face, but your music doesn't matter. People don't care about your music. And what I mean by that is people in the business. Obviously, your fans care about the music. And obviously, you have to, and I should preface all of this by saying, you have to record and release the best music you possibly can. That's a given. It's got to be the absolute best. But if you put everything you can into it and you've made the best music you can, that's fine. That's good. Great. Now forget about it. You know, there's an old saying that a lot of musicians, I hear it occasionally still, used to say of like, you know, this song is so good, all people need to do is hear it and it'll take care of itself. You know, but the truth is that no, that's not it. Um, and what do I mean by nobody? It's not about your music, and we don't care about your music. I will use an example I gave in the episode of the Music Biz Weekly. This was, I don't know, mid 2000s. Kiss was on touring for the Rock the Nation tour, and they were playing locally. And I went out. I was still working with them at the time, and I went out, hung out with the band, and was backstage with them. And back in the 70s, one of the most favorite fond Kiss tours that fans have is when Cheap Trick opened for Kiss in like 78, I think it was. They did the Can-Am tour. It was Cheap Trick and Kiss. And honestly, I mean, as a fan myself, I didn't see it. I would kill to see that lineup of Kiss and Cheap Trick together. I asked Gene backstage in on the Rock the Nation tour. I go, how come you never take Cheap Trick out? You know, I think on that tour they had Poison with them, they had Saliva with them. I'm like, how come you don't take Cheap Trick out? Man, that's every Kiss fan wants Cheap Trick. And Gene looked at me, and in typical Gene, he's just calm and mellow, and he's like, it's because they don't put butts in the seat. I love Cheap Trick. He's good friends with everybody in Cheap Trick. They get along great, but they don't sell tickets. And right then it was just like, yeah, that's what it comes down to, everybody. It's not about how good a band you are. It's not about how great your songs are. It's not about how great your newest album is. It's how can people make money off of you?
Yeah.
And in a bigger sense, on a national tour like Kiss, how many tickets can you sell? But I'm sure you know this. If you're a smaller band and you're playing bars and other venues that might have concessions there, here's the one thing that bar owner cares about when they book you to play. How much beer are you going to sell tonight?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Tickets aren't their primary source of revenue to cover you coming in that night. Ticket sales are important, but concession sales to a bar, how many beers, wines, mixed drinks, hot dogs, nachos, you know, all the other stuff that you're going to buy. How much does your band sell in concessions tonight? And you know, I may have even said this on your show in the past. When I was working for a bar in Northern California here, we'd have bands that wouldn't sell out, might sell only 50% of the tickets. But they freaking their fans that did show up emptied every keg we had that night.
and that's a great crowd because I mean, you know, I remember, you know, I played in a power trio back in the late 80s, early 90s, and you know, I went around and started with one of the guys. We went around and started getting all of our bookings because it was the first time the band had gone out to play live. And I remember one of the guys in downtown London. So, but then it was city was about 275,000, something like that. And they had two bars, upstairs and downstairs. And the downstairs bar was where all the bands were all the time. And he said, I don't care if you bring people in here. I don't care if you have a whole bunch of people who follow you. What I care about is you keep everybody here all night long
Yeah, keep them
and
here drinking.
keep them drinking till 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's exactly it. So that bar isn't booking you because they love your new song. And again, your new song might have gotten you the phone call, but they're not doing this out of love because they want to help break you, because they want to make you a bigger band. They're doing this because they need to sell beer so they can keep their doors open.
That's right.
For another month and another month and another month. And again, let's remember, no band shares in those concession sales. That's 100% profit for the venue. All right.
Yeah.
So as I was talking about the bar I worked at, this band only sold 50% of the tickets, but did incredible concessions,
Right.
beer sales. And we were like, you guys can come back once a month if you want. If you can keep bringing that same crowd of only 250 people back, but they keep buying emptying every keg and buying every bottle of beer we got, you're welcome back. So you've got to remember, it's not about the music. The bar is not sitting here going, we're showcasing the finest talent and the newest and greatest band. They care about what you're going to do so they can make money, so they can pay their bills. And basically everything in the music industry, or let me back up, everything in the music business is about making money.
Of course.
None of us in the business, bands, promoters, record labels, anybody in this business, we can't keep doing what we're doing and what we love if we don't make money. Money pays for everything we want to do. Money pays for a band to record, to get a van to go on the road. Money pays for the record label to keep the lights on and keep releasing music. Money pays for that venue to keep paying their rent and their employees week after week after week. So what they care about is your fan base and what is your ability to sell. What is your ability to sell tickets? You could be the best undiscovered band in the world, and you want to go and play a venue, and they look and they go, well, you've got 100 people following you. You have no email list. Your band's in town has 2 people on it. Who are you going to sell tickets to? Oh, if people only hear our music, they'll definitely come out. The bar's going to be like, they're not going to do that with us. We're not risking our rent for the month because you want to showcase your performance.
It's interesting you raise that subject because back when I started the record label, that was sort of what I was up against. Everybody that I talked to was, well, as soon as people discover our music, it's just going to take off because it's so good.
No. I can guarantee you, if you're a band and you're telling that to a record label, a promoter, a venue, anybody out there, quietly in their head, they're going, I don't care. That's not true. What they want you to do is come to them and say, we have 10,000 people that have discovered us. Here's our email list. Here's our subscribers on YouTube. Here's how many followers we've got on Spotify. Whatever your numbers are. And hopefully, we've talked about this in the past. Hopefully these are all legit, real numbers and you didn't fake it and buy numbers. Because if you buy those numbers, you're not going to sell anything.
That's
guaranteed.
And that was a big deal even back in the day. I mean, back in the day, like bands like Helix, how they got their contract with Capitol Records, they sold 10,000 records on their own.
Yes. A
And the
record label wants you to come to them and say, we need your help, but we've already established ourselves.
That's right.
Hey, venue, we're coming to town and we want to play. And I can show you that generally we can sell 500 tickets wherever we play. And here, and trust me, venues can verify numbers if they really want to. They
Oh
can
yeah.
they can call a booking agent. They can call other venues. It's a small world. Hey, this band is coming to town. They want me to book them. I'm a little hesitant. How many tickets did they sell when they played your bar 3 months ago? Oh, they sold it out. Great. That's all I need to know. Nobody's calling them going, hey, so and so's coming to town. How'd they sound on stage that night? No. How many tickets? How much was the concession sales? Would you book them again? Yeah, I'd book them again because I made money that night. That's all I need to hear. At that point in time, like the venue is like, I don't care about your music. You could play whatever you freaking want. And if we're selling out or making a ton of money, I don't care. So your music at that point doesn't matter. Again, it better be great music because everybody's trying to release the best music they possibly can.
Definitely.
So you've got to put everything you have into creating that music. But once you've done that, it's not about the music. It's about what you can do. How can you get more people to click the link on that review that that website gave you? Will you
Right.
do to drive people? Will you share this to drive your fans and traffic back to our website? Why do they want people on their website? Because they probably have paid ads on their website. And the more times that page that your review is on is loaded, the more money that website is making and the more money they have to keep this website open for another month, another year. So again, you got to think in this terms that it is the music business. This isn't the music have a good time. And if all you want to do is have a good time, there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to understand that once you move it up to the next level of being a professional, and a professional is easily defined as anybody who gets paid for their talent,
Right.
whether
Uh,
you're a musician, a writer, a hockey player, a football player. If you get paid, you're now a professional and it's all about the business.
yeah, here's an interesting thing. This is from Brent Durner. He was the original lead guitar player for Helix. He said Helix had a huge fan base. This is how we got the Kiss Lick It Up European tour.
Exactly. Why did Kiss and the booking agent in Europe care? Because they looked at it and said, hmm, Helix, a good chance they could put some butts in the seat.
Well, they already had a number one. I think they already had a number one hit over in Norway.
And and again, trust me when I say these bands that have been around decades, the venues that have been around for decades, agents that have been around for decades, they're pretty smart about calculating potential sales. They can sit here and go, all right, this is a 8,000 seat venue. Kiss could probably do 6, 7,000 easily on their own. So we need another artist that can sell 1,000 more tickets.
Yep.
Who could do that? Oh, Helix could put some butts in the seat.
Yep.
That is why bands get put on tours. That's why bands get booked to shows because you have the ability to make money.
Right. How currently do you see the influence of social media on all of this?
I think it's very important because social media is what in this day and age you can do to say, here's who I can talk to. Here's my audience. So, again, when I was booking this club, any band, whether and I booked LA Guns, Winger, Brett Michaels, Enough's Enough, to unknown bands, to tribute bands. As soon as one of them would, an agent or a band would say, we're interested in playing, do you have an opening? Okay, yeah. You'd go back and forth. But the first thing I would do is jump on the internet and get a feel for their numbers and their activity.
Right.
And what do I mean? I would quickly go, do they have a website? Yep. How active and updated is their website? Oh, it's updated right now. Or, and I've seen this, hey, they're still advertising a tour from a year ago on their website.
Yeah.
That's not that very impressive. They don't have an email sign up on their website. That's not a good sign. Oh, they do have an email sign up. I won't know how big the email list is, but they've at least got a sign up. I will go on bands in town. I will see how many people are following them on bands in town. 20,000 people? That's good to know. I as a person in the industry can even dig deeper behind the scenes and go, how many people in a 200-mile radius of Toronto, Ontario are following the band? If I'm considering bringing them to Toronto, I can get an idea. Oh, they've got 2,000 fans in a 200-mile radius of Toronto. Okay, that's I can work with that. If I'm a 500 capacity venue, you've got 2,000 fans. I know I'm not going to sell 2,000 tickets, but if I sell 10%, if I sell 5%, that's I feel better about booking the band. If I go on their Facebook and go, they've got 5 followers or they've got 5,000 followers, and how often are they posting and what are they posting? And again, is the last post on their Facebook page for a tour date from 3 months ago? Even though I know they've had many other tour dates, that's not encouraging to me because you're not going to be promoting the show I'm going to book then. So I will jump out there and look on social media to get a very quick and listen, I can do this. People in the industry can put 10, 15 minutes into it and get a good idea of whether you are going to be worthwhile to work with.
Right. Are do you think that Spotify numbers play into that at all in terms of hiring?
Well, it depends. I mean, from a record label like you, sure. You're going to sit there. I'm sure your first thing is, how many followers have you got on Spotify? Because if I release a new record and it goes up under your Spotify account, you've got 30 followers. Please, nobody's going to hear it. Oh, you got 30,000. Okay, I'm interested in this. Um, but the way Spotify's been expanding, it does apply all over the place because now all of your bands in town tour dates will populate to your Spotify profile. So the more people that follow you on Spotify, because they might go to your profile to listen to you, the better chance they're going to have to see that you've got a tour. But
Yeah,
but but again, it also comes back to, you could have great numbers, but if you don't have your tour dates up there, I don't care then. I don't care if you've got 100,000 followers. If you don't put your tour dates out there to announce your tour to 100,000 followers,
right.
you might as well have 0 followers. So you're looking at this sort of stuff to get a good idea. Are they on top of it? Are they active? Are they working the business? Or are they just sitting back being rock stars or trying to be rock stars?
Yeah, I think followers on Spotify, is probably one of the biggest numbers that I look at, and that's for an artist that's touring or not. If they're just a recording artist, and I don't mean that just a recording artist, if they're recording music but not touring, they can have as much engagement as a touring band on download and streaming services by interacting with their audience.
Well, sure, you as a record label, again, everybody in this industry is going to look at the social landscape of an artist from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A record label is going to look at Spotify for what's the potential of listens? But I'm going to also go to their social media. How active are they in promoting their music on social media? Oh, well, they're still promoting the album that came out a year and a half ago. And, people might roll their eyes when I say this stuff. I'm telling you, it's true. I come across artists fairly frequently where you're like, dude, the header on your Facebook page is for last year's tour. Why would I have any confidence in you promoting this new tour? Or if you're a label, you're promoting the album from the label you were signed to before you signed to us. Come on, let's clean this act up. If we're in this as a team here,
Yeah.
I have no interest in promoting your other label, your old label. Why isn't there something up there that says just signed to Indie Tunes Records, album coming in 3 months? I don't. You get indications of what you're going to be working with when you look at stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think the that an organic growth is the most important growth that I see, at least in terms of getting that good to honest engagement. I mean, there's some things that we saw last year that I thought were really, really great indicators of success. Did that equivocate to dollars? No, because we know there's not a lot of money to be made in digital music, but we had artists who got heard in over 195 countries last year. You can't do that on CDs and vinyl.
Right.
I mean, the amount of distribution you can get today is insane. And we penetrated 160 markets last year. Some of the artists on the label had a 400% growth.
And if you are smart about the business, you're looking at what countries were you getting listens in and how much were you getting in each of these countries, because you might be surprised to learn, geez, there's a Scandinavian country that this Canadian band is our number one country for plays. Well, maybe that tells you something, that should you think about going to that Scandinavian country to do some shows? Now that's the bigger picture of countries.
Right.
You could get the same feel from cities. Oh, gee, there's a city on the other side of Canada. We've never been there, but it's in our top 5 for where our fans are. Because guess what? I shouldn't say all, but many of these services, Spotify, Bands in Town definitely will break down for you the location of your fans and
Yeah.
how many there are. So you could look at your band, if you've got 10,000 followers on Bands in Town, Bands in Town will give you a list of how many there are in every single city that they are in. And you'll see the number 1 to the 100th, and you can sit here and go, God, there's a lot of fans in this city. I had no idea. We should go play a show there. Let me call the venue, forget about my music. Hey, venue, I can tell you I've got 500 fans in a 200-mile radius of your venue. I'd love to book a show here, and I can reach out and promote to these fans. No guarantees of ticket sales, of course.
Yep.
But again, it's something that gives the venue, the business you're working with, a little more security in taking a chance to work with you.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting and how telling those things are. And I was having that conversation with a band on the label the other night. There's a independent artist I know that goes over to Europe every year and tours Europe for about a month, and about 30 days plays 25 dates. And sometimes they're looking for because they're a solo artist, they're looking for a band to back them up, but also an artist to open for them. So we were looking at their stats and going, there's a lot of people over in Europe that like your music. Maybe you should approach this artist and talk to them about being their backup band and their opening act.
Mm-hmm.
Because this person that goes over to Europe every year takes different people to back them up. It's not always the same musicians, right?
Yeah.
And I said, here's an opportunity for you guys to get really well known over in Europe. You could go over there and you would play a shit ton of venues over in Europe. Think of what your listener is going to happen to your listenership now on Spotify.
Yep. I mean, it all comes down and comes back to this is a business. If you are attempting to do this as a career to support yourself, this is a business. You have to treat it like a business. Yes, like every business on this planet, you have to create and sell the best product you possibly can. But
Right?
then once that's done, you got to treat this like a business because guess what? There's a lot of other products out there that could take the dollars away from you.
Definitely. We got a question here from the chat room. This is from Dean Boharnish. He's from the East Coast. He says, odd question. How did suddenly Rick Emmett's old song from decades ago become the NHL playoffs theme song this year? Did they call him or his agent for permission for such a song? What does he get paid for them to use it? My brain wants to know.
Um, I mean, I don't know for sure how it worked with Rick, and it kind of works differently for everybody else. How much they got paid, no clue. That's literally a negotiation between the NHL and Rick. They can there's no standard rates, there's no, you know, per minute rates per it you they work it out between them. But they had to license it basically. They had
Yeah,
to license the song.
and I think Rick was talking about that because I think he and Mike Levine and Gil Moore had a conversation about the whole thing. When I think when the NHL first wanted to license the song,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I mean, the NHL can't just go take a song, start using it. Think of it as like a movie, a TV commercial, a TV show. They have to reach out and say, we'd like this song for our next NHL playoffs. And they're not doing this a week before the playoffs start.
no,
They're doing this a year before. Last season, the NHL was probably working up what's our what's our branding going to be for the playoffs next season? What's the theme going to be? Oh, and this somebody's going to say, I know of a great song, or more importantly, the NHL may just work with a music supervisor, just like movies do, TV shows, commercials.
so
They go to their
here's a band that hasn't been together for a long time, and it's Triumph. They have 467,378 monthly listeners on Spotify.
well, that's because Triumph has a catalog of music. And in this day and age, back catalogs are where the business is right now. So there's a lot of people just going to Spotify to listen to old classic Triumph, which is great for them.
Yep.
That's what you call mailbox money. They don't have to do anything. People just keep playing it and a check keeps coming in.
Tonight, it Lay It on the Line sits just over 27 million plays. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to it after the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, licensing your song, whether it's to the NHL, the NFL, or anything, that's that's the golden ticket in this new music industry. That's really easy money. It's taken a song that's already been paid for, recorded, and somebody's going to come to you and say, and I'm just making this up, we'll give you $250,000 to let us use that song for the next 6 weeks at every show. And you're going to be like, yep, just here's the address, send the checks. And the check, and again, it's called mailbox money. You walk to your mailbox every day and there's a check from somebody in there because they used your song for something. So
Yeah, and we've been
that's where, Rick and Triumph love that sort of stuff. Love it. All bands do. That's the easiest money. As a band that no longer is a band, is no longer touring, it's no longer recording. Wow, what a great way to make money.
Yeah, I mean, and the cool thing about that is that it becomes a revival of the rest of the catalog. Like we've got an artist on the label that prior to coming to the label, they weren't getting a ton of attention. I mean, they were, when I took them on, they had really great music. They had released an album and a half. Um, but they just weren't getting that many streams, right? And I said, well, it's, you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. You're putting your music out there just in hopes that it resonates with somebody, but you got to get it out there and throw it up on some Velcro and get it to stick. So people can actually see it. And so I said to him, look, here's the thing. You give me fresh music, I can playlist pitch that. I can get it out in front of people before it even gets released, right? We can get people listening to the song and building up some hype around the song. So when it gets released, it's not just going to fall on its ear, and maybe it hits a couple of editorial playlists. Well, their current album, it's not fully released yet. It's the 8th of 9 of 10 tracks, comes out this Friday. By the time the whole album is waterfall released, they're going to be upwards of 200,000 streams on that album. And for a band that really didn't get much attention before, that's a really big deal. And then we were looking at their stats. They're being listened to in over 54 countries now. All those things. And then the cool thing about it was now all of a sudden streams on their original EP and album are now outstripping some of the new stuff. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's bizarre, but I mean, you look at it and you're going, "Oh my God, here's stuff that they released, before that." And all of a sudden, now you're seeing an uptake of that because people have discovered them and gone, "Oh, I wonder what else these guys have put out."
Yep. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
It's
it
it
it it again, I just keep coming back to it like a broken record, but this is a business and you have to treat it like a business. You have to analyze it like a business. It's not just about going out and writing a song and then going and playing it live and having a good time. That's not it. That's sort of the gravy if the business works. You get to enjoy all that. But if you're not going to work at your career like it's a business, and I know a lot of musicians are like, oh God, I became a musician because I didn't want to be a business. I
in
didn't
business.
want a 9 to 5 job. Guess what? This is a job. Your band is no different than opening up a restaurant or some other retail store. You got to deal with all the same things any
Exactly.
other business has to deal with. How much money are you spending? How much money are you making? Oh, you're not making a lot? Well, what's your burn rate? Do you have any idea what burn rate even means? You've got to understand this stuff. What's the return on the investment? You need more money? Where are you going to go to get investments to keep your business running for another year? Oh, you need money just for the next month because you got to go on tour and you have to pay some crew members, 1 or 2 crew members. You got to pay them. They're employees. They're getting a check from you, just like a bar has wait staff they're responsible for. You have responsibilities too. It's a business. And if you don't act like it, trust me when I say there's other bands and artists out there that are doing it the right way, and they are going to leave you in the dust.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of things. I mean, one of the things that I tell people they should be considering doing is putting out at least one reel a week about them as an artist or a band, and then using their music on that reel because we get paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you need to use your music everywhere you do stuff. I mean, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they're all set up now to pay copyright holders. That's the point. You might get pissed. I see this a lot. Bands get pissed when they get a copyright claim on YouTube and they're like, "It's my own fucking music. Who's claiming this copyright? You can't do that." No, if you work through a record label and a distributor, this is the way it should work. They're doing this to protect you. They're claiming the copyright because now they're going to claim all the monetization from the video, and they'll pay you your share of it based on your contract with the label. But not only are they claiming your own use of your song, they're claiming every other fan on YouTube who's using your song in a video. They're claiming the monetization to that as well
Yeah,
and giving it back to you.
and you
That's the way it should work.
and you're getting paid for the resamples, and you're also getting paid anytime someone remixes your audio and uses it in their TikTok video or whatever.
Yep.
And I look at our payout sheets all the time, and Facebook impressions, Instagram impressions. These were not things paid out previously in royalties. These are all new things that we're seeing now. Um, you know, uh, Instagram and Snapchat's another one now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, you need to make sure you're paying attention and setting up your YouTube channel to monetize your YouTube channel. You yourself. Obviously, your distributor, your label is going to monetize your music in the video, but you can also monetize non-music on on your YouTube channel. So if you posted just a video of you on the tour bus, you can get paid for that.
Yep.
It's not a lot, but my one of my podcasts, I get every quarter from Google, depending on how popular each weekly podcast is, 250 to $500 a quarter
Yep.
sent to me because it's monetized. What does that mean? That means YouTube's running ads on that video of me talking, but I'm getting paid for it. And you have to take advantage, again, as a business, you've got to take advantage of every possible revenue stream you can activate and start paying attention to all that. Man, if you've got a website that's really popular, you can run ads on it. Yeah,
Yep.
you can run Google ads on it. Google will pay you to put their ads on your website. Maybe you've got a website that's not just about the band, but I don't know, message board or something that draws a lot of people in on a daily basis. You can make money. You could just monetize your website. And again, why is that great? It's kind of mailbox money. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons that I worked so hard to monetize our YouTube channel. And people on YouTube are looking for regular content. And I think that's one of the things that's big about YouTube these days is that if you're putting out content on the regular, if you're putting out content infrequently, it's really hard to keep people engaged.
Yeah, you got to put out content every day. And real quick back to why it's important. You might sit here and go, well, I get hardly any traffic to my YouTube channel right now. Why would I monetize it? Because here's the thing. You never know when that one video you post explodes and goes viral.
Exactly.
Nobody can tell you what will go viral, when it'll go viral, and how long it will be viral. But once that's happened, it's too late to monetize it. That ship has sailed. So, if you've got a video that all of a sudden you wake up tomorrow and it's got 1 million plays on it, but you never monetized your channel, wah wah. I'm sorry, you blew it. So work now to go follow the steps that YouTube requires. I mean, I think you've got to have X amount of subscribers. You got to have X amount of content that you post, X amount of plays over a
Yep.
period of time.
Yep.
They give you a nice little checkbox of you done this, done this, done this. This is all that's left. Work to achieve those goals. And then the second YouTube says you may now monetize your channel, do it. Maybe you're only making a few pennies every quarter,
Yep.
but again, you never know when you're, it's like fishing. You never know when the big one's going to bite.
Yeah, we were able to we got to the point where we were able to monetize the channel because we're getting enough watch hours, we're getting meeting all the different criteria to do that. And I said to artists, I said, if you're not getting monetization on your channel, but you're getting lots of watches, you could put the video up on our channel and push all your traffic there, because we're putting up so much content on a regular basis that people are going to our to our YouTube page because it's big. Like, I think we got 300 videos there now. It's a pretty decent sized channel, and it's growing, and it's monetized. And of course, one of the things we discovered, I remember saying to an artist, "Oh, that's a great video. Is the soundtrack for it encoded?" Well, I wouldn't know that. And I said, "Well, I know it's not, because you never sent it to me to get it encoded." Right? So I said, pull that video, because I said that soundtrack is not going to earn you all your royalties. You're not going to be able to collect all your royalties off it because the metadata is not in the soundtrack.
Yep.
So some of those royalties they're going to go into black box, because they're not going to know who to pay the royalties to, because they don't know who the royalty owner is.
Right. Right.
And because you own the publishing rights for your song for the mechanicals, and you own your masters, you get 100% of the publishing royalties back. But you got to have that information encoded in your music so that they know who to pay it to.
Yep. Again, this is a business.
Yeah.
This is about making money. And I know there's going to be some artists who are like, it's not all about the money. My co-host Jay Gilbert's got an old saying he loves to say, it's not about the money, it's about the money. It is about the money. You don't make money, you're getting dropped. Nobody's going to book you for shows. You can't even pay to keep your website open. Um, you've got no career. If you can't make money, how are you buying new equipment? And again, listen, there's a few artists out there that have rich benefactors that are taking care of them. But even there, at some point in time, that rich benefactor is going to go, God, I'm tired of just dumping money into this. There's nothing coming back. At least you've got to try and make money. It's when you don't even care that the people in the industry are going to be like, I don't want to work with you. If you don't even care about your own business and making money on your own, why would I care?
Yeah, there has to be some kind of return on investment. I mean, and I think that's one of the things that people have to establish when they're doing this thing is, what specifically are your goals? If your goal isn't to make a ton of money off this, if your goal is to get your music in front of as many people as possible, and the money is not a huge factor for you, then you may have to invest some of your own money to make this happen the way you want.
Well, I would say it's not may have to invest. You do have to invest. In this day and age, even if you've got a record label, you're going to have to invest your own money in your career. It's just the reality. Now that your own money might be maxing out credit cards, borrowing from family and friends. There's various ways you can acquire money. Maybe you find an investor, but you're going to have to invest money and you may not make a profit for a number of years. There's plenty of real businesses out there that aren't profitable the first day, the first month, the first year, but they manage their business enough that they know I've got 2 years to make it to profitability. If I don't make it to profitability in 2 years, I'm going to have to close the business.
Yeah, I find it with people's goals. I mean, if their goal is not largely monetarily driven, especially when it comes to the music. Maybe it's driven other ways if they're a touring band because they're looking that's where they're making their bread and butter is playing their live shows and selling their merch, right? And some bands I know make more money after the show than they made during the show because their merch sales go through the roof.
I won't name the band, but years ago I worked with a metal band that played the bar that I booked them at, and the deal was a door deal. There wasn't even a guarantee to perform a guaranteed payment. You get a percentage of the door. But they sold $10,000 in merchandise that night. They could care less what the door deal was.
That's right.
They sold so much merchandise. It paid for the next 2 weeks out on the road.
I know a band that they basically took a gig to open for someone because there was no budget for an opening band. They took the gig to open for the band because they knew they were going to make their money on merch sales.
Well, and again, that's why this is so important. You have to understand how your money flows. Where do you make money? Do if you've been doing this for a long time, do you know what the average, if someone said, what's the average per head for merch sales that you have when you do a show? Do you get like a deer in headlight, or can you immediately go, oh yeah, we do an average of $10 per head? Okay, that's good to know. So if there's 500 people at that show and you do an average of $10 per head, it gives you an idea of how much merch sales you can have that night. Also gives you an idea of how much merch you need to have on hand in order to sell. You have to know these things.
Yeah, I mean
Because
they're opening.
if you don't know these things, I mean, it could literally mean the difference between, sleeping in the van or sleeping in a Holiday Inn that night, eating the cold pizza in the dressing room or going to Denny's and actually having a real meal. If
Right.
you consider Denny's a real meal, but compared to cold dressing room pizza, a hot Denny's is probably very nice.
Yeah, I mean, for these guys, doing the gig and not getting paid for the gig paid off in two ways. The first was they made their money in merch sales, and the second was their listenership on Spotify started going up after that show.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, again. I'm a broken record. This is a business. You've got to look at everything you're doing from a business sense. How do I make more money out of it? How can I estimate how much, hey, you're going to go out on tour. You got an offer to go on tour. Um, can you put together an estimation, a budget of what your tour costs are going to be to do that? Have you ever done that before? Or are you the type of person that just says yes and then flies by the seat of your pants and is like, well, shit, I need to find some money for a van. Oh, crap, the van's not going to hold all of our gear. I guess I got to rent a trailer. Well, can this van pull the trailer? How many miles are we going to have to drive every day? What are the deals at each venue we're playing? Are we getting food at the venue? Are they giving us hotel rooms, or are they going to give us a hotel buyout? Do you know what a hotel buyout is? You know, you got to understand all of this stuff. It's when you become a superstar act that you hire people that's all their job is to manage all that for you.
Right.
But most bands will never get to that point. Most bands, you know, I've shared this before. When we booked L.A. Guns, the band drove themselves in a white panel van to the show. They weren't in a tour bus. They didn't have crews. They had one crew member with them. But why? Because every crew member was more money out of their own pockets.
Right.
So
So it's all
they
budget driven.
it's all budget driven. That one crew member was a roadie, was probably doing sound for them, might have been their lighting guy, also would probably run back after the show and set up and do merch sales. I mean, it's a business, and you've got to watch. You got to know how much money you've got to spend and how much money you think you're going to be making.
Right. You're going to be talking about this on your podcast. So put a plug in for it now. We're down to 2 minutes to the end of the show.
It's the Music Biz Weekly podcast, and you can find it anywhere on the internet. Search YouTube, Spotify, just search for Music Biz Weekly podcast. And the newest episode just came out this week, is all about it's a slap in the face. It's not about your music. Your music doesn't matter.
Right. And three sides of the coin. I'm going to
Three
put a plug in for that as well.
three sides of the coin is just a fun podcast. We talk about Kiss. That's it. Bunch of Kiss fans talking about Kiss.
And a bunch of guys who've really been deeply involved in that organization.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we have guests on that have worked and done various things. I've worked with Kiss. The co-hosts have done stuff with Kiss, been photographers and provided stuff for box sets and you name it. But we're just geeky fans. That's it. We're just geeky fans talking and having a good time.
Always a pleasure having you on the show, Michael. Michael Brandvold, digital marketing specialist from Petaluma, California. He's become a bit of a regular on the show, and I hope that we're going to have him back again. He graciously gives of his time to come here and throw out nuggets for you. So go back and listen to the show afterwards, because there's a lot of good things in what he said tonight and things you should be listening to. And remember, it's not just about your music. It's about a business, and it's about a business acumen. So you have to decide what your business acumen is going forward, and you need to decide what your goals are.
That's really important. You can't run a business without knowing what your goals are.
That's right. All right. Well, from me at Indie Tunes Records, I'm Kenny. That's Michael Brandvold over there. You're not. I'm Kenny.